He's a mighty man of valor, and even his superiors respect him. You can see it right there. Even his superiors respect this guy. And then the verse ends with a little bit of a mic drop situation. You know, you're building, and he's a commander of the army. He's a great and honorable man. The Lord had given him the victory, given victory to Syria through this guy. He was a mighty man of valor. Even his master even looked at him with respect. And then the mic drop moment, oh yeah, he's a leper. Naaman has a pretty good life. He has prestige, he has wealth, he's a leader, he's respected. Other than that one little hiccup of the irreversible death sentence, it seems to be going pretty good for him. You know, he's just got that one little thing, just that one little detail in his life. Oh, by the way, you're going to die. How soon? I don't know, but it's going to get worse from day to day. You're going to watch your body fall apart. That's just your story. But that does change the plot a little bit, doesn't it? You see, you're the commander of the army. Even your master respects you. You have victories. Life is going good, Naaman. Anything bad going on? Well, I've got a death sentence, and I can't change it. It's just from day to day, I see it getting worse. Other than that, no, life's just fantastic. You know, it doesn't really matter how much prestige you have or how much wealth you have or how much people respect you or anything. If you're walking around with leprosy, guess what the star of that show is? It's the leprosy. Who cares how much money you have? He's in a situation where there's no turning back. Here's where God seems to pause the scene for a minute, and he takes our focus to the unsung heroes in the credits. He takes us away from, we're focused on Naaman now. We're looking at that story and like, wow, there's a lot going on so far in this story, and we just met the guy. And God says, oh, hold on, let's pause. I want you to see a couple of these credits that you're not going to see and once the movie's over, you're going to walk out. So I want to highlight these few people here. Look at verse 2. And the Syrians had gone out on raids and had brought back captive a girl from the land of Israel. She waited on Naaman's wife. Then she said to her mistress, if only my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, for he would heal him of his leprosy. Did you catch the girl's name? It wasn't even listed. It wasn't even listed. Basically, the title popped up. You didn't even get to find out who it was. It's like key grip. You know, when you're watching the credits, like key grip, and you're like, all right, I'm going to have to Google that. What's a key grip? The key grip comes up, and like, who was that? Well, you see the title come up, key grip, but no name. So what you have here is captive girl. We needed the name. You don't get the name. She doesn't even get that much recognition. It's not listed. No name, no backstory. This is the first time we see this girl in Scripture, and after this story, we never see her again. She's in, she's out, no name, nothing. She comes and she goes as fast as the credits scroll across the screen. She's there, she's gone. But her part in the story is just as important as everybody else's part in the story. She just doesn't get any recognition. This young girl informs Naaman about a prophet of God from a culture that he doesn't even belong to. Remember, he's a Syrian. And this young girl says, oh, by the way, there's a prophet in Israel, in Samaria. There's a prophet over there. Naaman couldn't be in any more of a desperate situation. Remember, he's got a death sentence. Curtains on his show anytime now. He knows it's coming to an end. So he's intrigued. And he makes an effort to move in the direction of the prophet. He's like, okay, there's no other healing. There's no cure for leprosy at that time. So he's like, okay, I'm in a bad situation. She says there's a prophet. I'm going to move in that direction. Look at verse 4 of 2 Kings chapter 5. And Naaman went in and told his master, saying, thus and thus said the girl who is from the land of Israel. Then the king of Syria said, go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel. So he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. This young lady still doesn't receive much of that limelight at all here. She's just the girl from the land of Israel. That's all we get. No name, nothing. But her involvement in the story has brought Naaman to the court of the king of Syria. Naaman now goes to the king of Syria and says, hey, there's thus and thus is what he says. Thus and thus is what the girl said, which we all know what the rest of that story. One thing led to another. That's kind of how that story is told. She said all of this, and the king says, okay, all right, I'm intrigued. The king sends a letter to the king of Israel. He says, okay, I'm going to send a letter to the king of Israel, and you go there. Find this prophet, find this healing. Naaman's now traveling with the equivalent of millions of dollars worth of gifts for the cure for his leprosy. He's like, I'm taking whatever. I don't know what the prophet's going to need, but when I get there, I'm going to have plenty to pay him with because I really don't want to die of leprosy. But the scene's about to shift over to Israel now. We're going to leave Syria and we're going to go over to Israel. Israel has a king who doesn't know anything about the leprosy of the captain of the Syrian army. He's about to be brought into the story. He doesn't know what's going on here. The only thing he really knows about the Syrians is that they had recently won a battle and they've taken some of their people captive. That's where the girl comes in, taken from Israel. That's all he really knows about the Syrians. This is where his story changes. Look at verse 6. Then he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which said, Now be advised, when this letter comes to you, that I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may heal him of his leprosy. And it happened, when the king of Israel read the letter, that he tore his clothes and said, Am I God, to heal and make alive, that this man sends a man to me to heal him of his leprosy? Therefore, please consider and see how he seeks a quarrel with me. In the middle of a story about a man seeking a cure for his leprosy, God inserts a quick mention of the king of Israel. Just drops this in the story for us to see. When the king of Israel receives the letter, he freaks out. He's flipping out here. He thinks he's just inherited a huge problem. Enough so that it says that he tore his clothes, which is an outward expression of grief, where they would tear their clothes. Sometimes they would put ashes on their head and they would grieve. So this king is grieving right now. He's really freaked out. It appears that the king of Syria has just asked him to do the impossible. It looks like he's just been set up. The king of Syria sends Naaman to the king of Israel. King of Israel reads the letter and it says, by the way, heal my captain of his leprosy. And the king's like, how am I supposed to do that? It appears to me that I'm being set up for a possible war here. This king wants me to do something for his captain, and he says, am I God? I can't do this. So what he does is he starts grieving and he starts tearing his clothes and he's like, I'm in trouble. I'd like to take a brief intermission. Anybody remember those? Where the movie stops and you get up and go to the bathroom and some of you are smiling and some of you are like, what is an intermission? The movie would stop in the middle and then music would play. Sound of Music, you remember that movie? Where it would play for, when I was a kid, it'd be like 3-hour movie and then the intermission. And then it would be the other 3 hours of the movie. Like, my goodness, this movie's never going to end. But I was thankful for the intermission because at that time you get up and move around a little bit. So we're going to take a brief intermission in this story here and point out an important lesson that I think everyone needs to hear. The king of Israel assumed that this was his problem. And his natural response was, why me? Why me? A lot of times when we see problems in our life, when we see problems come in our life, we see them in the same way the king of Israel did. Why me? Why God? Why me? What did I do? So we ask, what did I do? How did I deserve this? It's all about us. It's all about us. It's an inward focused thing. But have we ever stopped to think that maybe the problem wasn't for us? Maybe the problem came our way because God wanted to do something through us? Maybe the problem wasn't yours, it was just you get to be involved in it because God wants to do something incredible through your life in that problem. What would we be if we didn't actually see our problems as problems, but as opportunities to glorify God? Every problem as something to glorify God. What would happen if we wouldn't let the enemy even have the small victories? The problem comes your way. The king missed it. And this story had to go down a different path. But that king could have looked at it and said, okay, I'm going to take this opportunity to glorify God. I'm going to go to God. I'm going to talk to God about this. No, he doesn't. He freaks out. That's what he does. Why me? Why me? This guy wants to start a war with me. That must be all that's going on here. So he looks at it as a personal issue rather than seeing it as an opportunity to glorify. After all, he's the king of God's chosen people. Maybe he should have run to God, but he doesn't do that. Look at 2 Kings chapter 5 and verse 8. So it was when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, that he sent to the king saying, "Why have you torn your clothes? Please let him come to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel." Apparently, the king's assumed problem, this is my problem, this is all about me, this is, why me, God, why me? Apparently, this assumed problem became news to the region. Because it doesn't say, and the king went to Elisha and told Elisha. No, it says Elisha just heard about this. So apparently, this guy's making a scene. He's freaking out, and everybody's getting to know this. The prophet Elisha got word, and he steps in, and I'm sure the king found a little bit of relief here in the story, because now it wasn't on him to heal Naaman. It was no longer his problem. So I love it when problems don't become mine. The problem that I thought I had, somebody else inherits that. How selfish of me, but that makes me feel better. Like, hey, I can't fix my car. Hey, mechanic, you can fix my car. And I give my problem to the mechanic, and now I feel better. And he says, now I have a problem, not enough money. And he hands his problem to me. And we've shared our problems. Now I've got a new problem. But I feel good in that moment that my first problem's getting fixed, okay? When we pass our problem off to somebody else, it feels better for the moment. So this king, I'm sure he's feeling pretty good that it's no longer his problem. This king doesn't exactly go down as a hero, but God did use him to get word to Elisha. So at least that happened. Look at verse 9. Then Naaman went with his horses and chariot, and he stood at the door of Elisha's house, and Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean." Now don't forget who Naaman is here. Remember, he's the star of the show at the beginning here. Don't forget who he is. He's accustomed to being the name that pops up on the credits. Okay, he's accustomed to this lifestyle. He's used to being met with honor. Elisha doesn't even come out to meet him personally. He sends a servant to the door. Naaman shows up with horses and a chariot. That's gonna get noticed. He shows up to Elisha's house, and Elisha sends his servant, like, "Hey, go give him a message for me." Elisha doesn't even get up. He doesn't even go meet Naaman. Naaman has wealth to be handed out, and Elisha just sits there. Naaman's met at the door by a servant who tells him to go dip into the nastiest river in the area. Go to the Jordan River and dip down into the Jordan River 7 times, and you'll come out clean. Your leprosy will be healed. Go to the nastiest one. Naaman has just traveled an extremely long distance due to the fact that he's dying. He's got a death sentence. He's a walking time bomb. He doesn't know when the leprosy is going to spread to a part of his body that's going to kill him. He doesn't know. He doesn't have any idea. He just knows his time is limited. He's been sentenced to death by one of the most wretched diseases of that day. And the prophet doesn't even get up to meet him personally. He doesn't even get up to meet him at the door. Naaman is an entitled man. As we read at the beginning, he's entitled. He knows what he deserves. He's got prestige. He's not accustomed to be treated like this. So when a servant greets him at the door instead of Elisha, he feels dishonored. And this bothers him so much that he decides to take his leprosy and go home. Fine, I'll take my leprosy and go home. Like, really? That's going to be the end of your story? It appears that was going to be the end of his story. Look at 2 Kings 5:11. But Naaman became furious and went away and said, "Indeed, I said to myself, he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and heal the leprosy. Are not the Abana and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" So he turned and went away in a rage. Naaman just made the same mistake the king of Israel made. Somehow he thought this story was all about him. This problem is my problem. This is all about me. Put all the lights on me and my situation because this is all about me. Naaman has just misunderstood his own problem. Somehow, the way he was treated became more of an issue than his literal death sentence. Let that sink in for just a second. The way he was treated became more of an issue to Naaman than the fact that he is dying of leprosy. When people become entitled, small issues overshadow real problems. If you think it's all about you, you're going to miss the real issue because somebody said something to you and you deserve better than that. Somebody did something and they took something that you wanted, and now suddenly that becomes the highlighted issue, and we forget about the main story. It happens all the time. Celebrities are known for this. I mean, you can just close your eyes right now, picture a celebrity, and chances are they've had one of those days where they were not treated right. It's often reported that people, rich and famous, treat others poorly because they don't receive the treatment that they desire. Some actors show up, and if you didn't have something in their dressing room that they requested, that it deals off. I said I wanted chocolate-covered peanuts, and they weren't there. And now everything's on hold until the chocolate-covered peanuts show up. We know these stories. They're not just stories. This is what happens because they're entitled people. They lose sight of the bigger picture because they feel the story should have been all about them, even in the dressing room. It should be all about me. That's the trap Naaman fell into here. So God sends in some more of those unsung heroes to save the day. You know, the people whose names you never know. They're just in the story, kind of behind the scenes. Look at verse 13. And his servants came near and spoke to him and said, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do something great, would you not have done it? How much more then when he says to you, 'Wash and be clean'?" These servants, who shall remain nameless for all of time, you don't know their names, I don't know their names, they step in and they bring attention to the problem and to the solution. They pointed out that if Elisha's servant had come to that door and asked him to conquer an enemy, or to climb a mountain, or to do something great, he would have had no problem doing that. No problem at all. Naaman's greatest struggle was with humility. He had a pride issue. He was all that. Now I'm going to make myself look old. And a bag of chips. He was all of that and a bag of chips. Now the teenagers are like, why are there chips in the sermon? Ask your parents. We've got a situation here where Naaman is struggling with a pride issue. God allowed him to catch leprosy, not so that he could heal him of leprosy, but that he could heal him of the pride issue. See, the leprosy wasn't Naaman's problem. Pride was Naaman's problem. But Naaman thought leprosy was his problem. Because when problems hit us, we think, why me? Why, God? Why? Why is it happening to me? Chances are there's a problem you didn't even know you had. But God knew you had it, and he's working on that. Pride was the only thing keeping Naaman from finding God. He's in a pagan culture, but he needs God, and God loves him. Naaman's physical circumstance was just a vehicle to help him grow. That's all it was. Leprosy. I'd hate to take that ride, but it worked. It got Naaman's attention. Our world often falls apart because we believe we're the main character in the story and we deserve better. When problems come our way, we have two roads to choose from. You have two options. We can either choose the same road that the king of Israel chose and see the problem as a problem, which will probably get worse. We could take that mindset. Or we can see the problem as an opportunity to allow God to help us be who he designed us to be. You have two options. Every problem that comes your way is another opportunity to let God shine. Every single problem. Every problem. Like, well, some problems aren't that big. Every problem. What if you run out of dishwasher detergent? That's a problem. Yeah. And you can get mad because nobody told you you were out. Nobody told you you were close. You can blow up at people. That's one option. Or, even in that moment, you can let Christ express himself. Like, well, that's such a little issue. Right. Let Christ shine. Looks like we're out of dishwasher detergent. Stay patient, move forward. You can do it that way, or you can be entitled. You know, this is all about me. Somebody should have told me, look at my problem. It's all about me. Get that light on me. Even in something so small, a lot of times we become the star of the show, don't we? We rise to the top quick. Like, where are my chocolate-covered peanuts? And now all of a sudden we start feeling like, okay, I'm not really liking this sermon because I just did that this morning. I became the star of the show. I do the same thing. We all do the same thing. And we've got to understand that there are two options. Make it your problem, which will probably get worse if it's your problem, or you can make it your opportunity to let Christ shine through your life. And every single problem is an opportunity to let God shine. God wanted to be involved in Naaman's life, but Naaman had to learn about humility first. So again, God pauses the story and sends in the people who are often missed in the credits. And there's a couple names that you don't know and I don't know. Naaman's servants pointed out that he would have done something greater. And when they did that, he realized that his pride was the only thing standing in his way. You're right. If they said, go conquer an army, I would have done that. But they're asking me to dip into the nasty river of Jordan. That's an easy thing to do. If it was a tough thing, you would have done it, Naaman. So why not do the easy thing? Take a look at how Naaman's story changes here. Look at verse 14. So he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God and all his aides, and came and stood before him. And he said, indeed, now I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel. Now therefore, please take a gift from your servant. But he said, as the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will receive nothing. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. So Naaman said, then if not, please let your servant be given 2 mule loads of earth, for your servant will no longer offer either burnt offering or sacrifice to other gods, but to the Lord. We have a cast member here who typically is seen as the star of the show. Naaman offers to give Elisha gifts, but Elisha knows that the glory doesn't belong to him. You know, Elisha, the one that didn't even get up to go to the door. He knows that he's not the star of this show. And Naaman offers to give him a lot of gifts. Elisha becomes just a name in the credits that, at the end of the credits, the ones you don't stay long enough to see. Elisha just forfeits all the glory, and he becomes one of those names. But look at what happens to Naaman. Naaman is the man who left angry. Remember, he's the one that says, fine, I'll take my leprosy and go home. I'm mad because you didn't treat me good, and I'm entitled to this. He leaves angry, and a man with a heart of a servant is who comes back from the Jordan River. He not only came back with the heart of a servant, he also came back with a life of commitment. He said, your servant will no longer offer either burnt offering or sacrifice to other gods, but to the Lord. Naaman, the captain of the Syrian army, says, I give. I'm done. I'm done. I will serve one God and one God only. When you go back to the Syrian people, they're not going to be in favor of that, Naaman. And he's like, I just don't care. I just don't care. There's only one God I will serve from here on out. Naaman became a brand new man because he humbled himself enough to become servant status. He even says, please let your servant, talking to Elisha, he says, please let your servant. When did you become a servant, Naaman? When I realized the story wasn't all about me. There's a big God involved here. Something incredible is going on here. Naaman willingly chose to stand with those only seen in the list at the end of the credits. Naaman chose to go into that group. Jesus tried to teach this to his disciples. He tried to teach this to everybody. And I want you to see what he says here. Matthew chapter 23 and verse 11. But he who is the greatest among you shall be your servant, and whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. The number one reason that people choose not to get saved is their own pride. It's also the number one reason we all hold grudges is because of pride. Pride destroys relationships and it keeps us from forgiving other people. It's just pride. That's it. You know, some people say, why won't you get saved? Well, I'm trying to. Well, you don't try to get saved. It's a gift. It's a gift. You can't earn that. You just have to believe and accept that. Salvation is a gift. And what do people do? I will do something great. If he asked me to do something great, I would have done it to get my salvation. But he's not asking you to do something great. He's asking you to humble yourself and understand that you can't fix this problem and that he wants to fix it for you. But a lot of people are still trying to do something great in order to earn that salvation. But salvation can't be earned. It's a gift. It has to be given. Grace doesn't require works. It's just a gift. But a lot of people are saying, well, I'll do something great and I'll earn it. That's not how that works. It's a gift. It's just a gift. Pride keeps us from getting saved. Pride keeps us from forgiving other people. Pride teaches us to hold grudges for years about situations, and sometimes we're even mad at God. It causes us to judge others, and it can even cause us to be so close-minded to God when things don't go our way. And it will be our downfall in life if we don't turn from it. Pride is a big issue. It's huge. But I want everyone to see the game changer in this story. There's some game changers here. The king of Israel just got overwhelmed with the problem and he thought it was all about him. Look at his story. The king of Israel, aren't you the guy that tore your clothes and grieved and, thought it was all about you? And the problem was all about you? Yeah. Naaman was about to walk away with nothing. So look at the key names popping on your screen there. Naaman was about to walk away with his leprosy intact. Just going to go. Elisha didn't even show up. He didn't even show himself to be a key character at all in the story. What did Elisha do? What did Elisha do throughout the whole story? Nothing. He told the king, send him to me. Naaman shows up, where's Elisha? Well, he said to just go dip in the river. Where's Elisha's part in the story? He doesn't even become a main character. The game changers were the people who will forever be nameless. Those are the people that changed the whole thing. A young girl and Naaman's servants. Those are the active people in the story. Without this crew in the background, we would have never heard of this story. It would have never happened. They're the people who made it possible for us to have this account in Scripture. They're the ones Naaman should have been offering the gifts to. You should have offered the gift to that little girl over there. You should have offered the gifts to your servants that talked you back into going and dipping into that river 7 times. Those are the people that should have been acknowledged. Stress begins to fade, joy begins to grow, and security is found when we understand that we are part of something far greater than ourselves. This story is something you were born into. It wasn't something God brought you into because it was all about you the whole time. You were just brought into this story. God brought us in for those little moments that changed the world. You are here because of the little moments that changed the world for somebody, and so am I. One act of kindness or one personal investment into somebody else's life, somebody else's time. Instead of seeing ourselves as the main character of the story, we should pray that God helps us see ourselves as the behind the scenes of his story. That's where we are. That's our job. That's what we've been brought into. This is where the child of God feels most at home anyway. I'm here to glorify you. I'm here to praise you. I'm here to pour my life into somebody else's life. Why? Because of you. It's what you're made for. Unsung heroes are people who make a difference while allowing the glory to go somewhere else. That's what unsung heroes are. Look at 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. Yeah, but I won't get any glory. Oh, you're getting enough. But let everything be done for the glory of God. We're part of a bigger picture. Every one of us, we're part of a bigger picture. Every problem we face is another opportunity to let the light of God shine through our lives. Every one, even dishwasher detergent. Every moment you have a choice. You have an option. I can let God express himself through my life right now, or I can make this all about the me show. And by the way, nobody wants to watch that show. Nobody wants to watch that show. They want you to watch their show when it's the me show, but nobody wants to watch the me show when it's you. Nobody's interested in that, but everybody is drawn to that show where the kindness and the love of God shines through your life, even in a hard situation. That's attractive to people. That shines a light. So grow. In those opportunities, go ahead and grow. And live a life of servitude. Go ahead. Live a life of servitude. The role of a servant is the greatest calling of all. Yeah, but I might not get my name in the credits. Oh, that's okay. That's completely fine, because the story changed because you were involved. And you were involved in a way that allowed him to be involved. And that's when lives change. That's when our circumstances change. That's when we grow in the area of patience and forgiveness. That's when things change for us and things change for others, when we realize this bad situation is just another opportunity for me to be an unsung hero. Everything I do, I need to do all for the glory of God. Do that, live that. I'm telling you, that's where a child of God feels most at home, is when you realize, when you put your head on that pillow at night and realize, hey God, we were able to do something together today. And lives are changed. And you know what? I'm not going to get any credit, but thanks for doing something with me today. That's when we feel amazing. That's when we feel at home. Be the unsung hero.